screws loose, they done stripped the bolts on them. Shoulda never sent them to pick up the work for me. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart Boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all gone.
All right. Greetings, Chudlings. Welcome to another episode of Chuddy's Corner. It's Wednesday, November 6th, and the Celtics lose at home to the Warriors, 118 to 112. Yeah, this sucked. I think, first we'll get Tatum at 32 points, the big Tatum Kerr, confrontation, or so to speak, whatever you want to call it, was certainly the story going into it. And I think Kerr kind of was playing to start, as if he wanted to make sure that Tatum didn't kind of have this big sort of showboating day. So he finished with 32. I would say that that's not aside from that third quarter, wasn't really a jump out at you 32-point game. Played well, obviously, but Kerr was making it difficult. He was throwing doubles at him, throwing traps at him for most of the game early on. And then the Celtics were up by 6 with up by 7 with 6 minutes left. And game just slips away. Lose Curry on a couple big plays. It was ugly. But Chud, I'll bring you in here. How you doing tonight? What'd you see? What did you think about this? At least let's start with the ending, and then we'll kind of backtrack into the Tatum Kerr stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was a great game. I don't know if I'd call it really ugly. I thought it was just a really good game. Honestly, I was more impressed with the Warriors than anything else. They drastically outplayed us in the first half. I think that first half was probably as impressive of a half of basketball as I can remember any team playing against the Celtics in a long time. And it wasn't, I really don't think we were playing that bad or doing anything dumb for the most part. I thought it was, I hate to say it, but I thought really good game plan by Steve Kerr. And I think that Warriors team is pretty legit. They play really good defense, and it felt like they were taking it to us on both ends. They were dictating the pace. They were flying up and down the court, getting the fast breaks, and then slowing us down on offense. You mentioned the trapping zone they played, especially on Tatum. I thought that was a huge part of the game. Super impressive.
All game, not even that was just so effective. No. I feel like the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely it was. But you really felt it too, especially when Tatum went to the bench. And I thought this was the first time this year that we felt like the lack of Porzingis, the lack of Jaylen Brown tonight, obviously, too, making a big difference. But they were missing some guys, too. This was a winnable game. But it was awesome to see the way we bounced back in the third quarter. Some amazing plays. Really, that was the quarter, especially where it felt like we had it going. You mentioned Tatum got it going. But really, it was the whole team. It was the ball movement. It felt like we were dictating the game again. We started taking it to them. And then a really good game down the stretch, like you mentioned. Blew a 7-point lead with 7 minutes left. But in NBA terms, that's hardly a blow.
It
was a good game. We had our chances, and honestly felt like they just kind of got every break. We made a few good defensive plays that just fell to them. Got a few shots to go. This wasn't at all the old Celtics going doo-doo mode at the end. They didn't do anything stupid. I thought they just needed one more break. They couldn't get it. Draymond airballed that 3 right to Looney for a putback. Curry got stuffed, went right into I think it was Wiggins' hands for a layup. They were kind of getting stopped.
Yeah, that was the most frustrating sequence. I think.
Yeah, they had 10 second chance points in the fourth quarter, which was just painful. So, yeah, it was painful in that sense, but I didn't feel like I was anything too upsetting. I just thought it was a really good game, and they just outplayed us at the end, tip of the cap.
Yeah, I think I want to push back a little bit on just, referring to, the airball Draymond is just a break not going our way. I feel like that's just, I don't know. You just got to get, they just showed the replay again.
It's so hard to rebound an airball, though, because you're, turning to box out your man. You're not looking at the ball. And it's the one thing you're not expecting is just the ball to not hit anything and just land, behind where you're looking.
Yeah, so. I guess. That was frustrating. I also think, too, just there was a couple plays at the end where they lost Curry under the basket. And I think they even lost him outside the 3-point line.
There was one kind of plays.
To me, that's not things not falling away. That's just breakdowns there.
That play, sure, but overall,
there was another one too. I thought Curry had a wide open 3, right before the layup one underneath.
I wouldn't call that.
Am I misremembering?
He had a tough shot. There was the one bad breakdown, but overall,
I do agree. This isn't certainly not looking to overreact or anything like that. But it did just kind of feel like. The game was totally there for the taking for us, and I don't know, just sort of some lapses. I do think
you say there for the taking, but they were also up 14 in second half. So the Celtics came all the way back too. So I mean, whoever lost was going to be a little disappointed. I don't. It's not like we were dominating and gave the game away.
And it was a great game, very entertaining game too.
Yeah, felt like
Just
more than a regular season game.
yeah, it definitely did. Obviously, the extra juice there with the extra juice anytime that's the Warriors anyway. Shout out to the sponsor. Sponsor was there tonight, bring the noise, I think.
I hope.
But
not enough noise.
Yeah. Yes, clearly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought what Golden State was doing, it kind of put I hadn't really seen that from our offense this year. And I know we're missing Jalen. I know we're missing Porzingis, but I feel like we've seen the offense without Porzingis still play well.
Yeah.
But I do think what they were doing, like those traps and sending those doubles again, it was a lot of Tatum, but it was a lot of other guys too. Like that it totally seemed like at first it kind of rattled our cage big time. I think the third quarter it obviously turned around, but I think we scored like 40 points in the whole first half.
Yeah.
So I certainly have not seen a team like have that kind of defensive like showing against this Celtics team. No, so that was kind of interesting. Impressive. I don't know if that's something that other teams will try to mimic, if other teams can mimic it. Yeah. I think, too, we made fun of it a little bit of how he's playing so many of the guys. Like they played 11 different guys in the first quarter. I think that almost like makes that style of play more possible because like you're just going to be gassed if you're just constantly like running traps and doubles like that. So the fact that they're like rotating guys in almost like hockey shifts, it's just an interesting technique, interesting style, interesting coaching decision by Kerr, who again, like you said, don't really want to give the guy credit on tonight. This is a night about saying fuck Steve Kerr. But I mean, if that's what the Warriors have been doing, I know that they're 6-1, 7-1 now in the season or whatever. So they've always been playing well. But if that's what their defense is going to be looking like, then it's a pretty scary stuff. They obviously have always had a pretty decent defense, but this was just sort of seemed like a little bit different. It just was super aggressive.
This is a different team. I think that's the thing is it's not in a lot of ways it's like feels like the old Warriors are back, but it's really like a very brand new version. And in the days, it felt like it was so much was like running through Curry on offense and Draymond on defense, and that's obviously still the case. But there were times where Curry was on the bench, and I was like, they're like a machine. They just keep coming. And like you said, a lot of it is the different guys they're funneling in. And that was tonight. They didn't have Melton and Podziemski, two really good rotation players. They were without too. So it's an impressive squad. The depth is very real. And a lot of those guys, they're kind of similar in their skill sets, or a lot of guys who are athletic, fast, good defenders. I mean, Gary Payton, that guy's a hell of a defender. He made a few big plays. He had that play diving on the floor, too. It was kind of a sneaky turning point with 4 minutes left. I think they had a big run after that to close the deal.
Was that the one where he was like, Tatum was like cradling him like a baby?
I'm not sure. I think so. It was when they gave Kerr the timeout.
It was a jump ball, right?
Well, they gave Kerr the timeout, I think.
Oh, okay. Then I'm thinking of a different play. I'm pretty sure the Tatum one was a jump ball.
Gotcha.
He was like swaddling somebody, it looked like.
They just play really hard, really aggressively. And yeah, the trapping stuff definitely got to us. In the first half, it was almost like a little PTSD of back in the day. And that was more why I said the Porzingis thing, because it felt like we got Porzingis to stop teams from, he was like our zone buster. And they kind of went to that like half court trapping zone. Not quite what the Heat used to do, but shades of that. And I immediately was like, we don't have that outlet. And especially when Luke was in there, it was brutal. Tough Luke game. He actually left early with a hamstring, which I didn't hear them mention on the broadcast, but I saw on Twitter. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but he looked lost out there anyway. And I thought Joe was a little slow in the first half to adjust. He looked like it was, again, PTSD of like deer in the headlights. Like, why aren't we adjusting at all? We looked like we just like weren't ready for it at all. The team and Tatum, and just were like a step slow and looked really, really sloppy. And then in that third quarter, looked like a different team, and we were just so much more focused. And Tatum, I thought, played really well, even though Kerr was trying to stop him. It was funny, I looked at the box score, he only had 2 assists. It felt like he had way more. He probably had a bunch of hockey.
Who's that, Tatum?
Yeah, because I think there was a lot of plays where he would make one pass out of the double, and then the next pass was to a wide open guy. So it was like he was starting the play. And we probably buried the lead by not bringing it up so far, but best game of his career by Neemias Queta, by far, who started the game and was a true difference maker on both ends of the court. Like, he had his own mixtape, like highlight reel there going in the fourth quarter before he had to rest. Eventually, he was exhausted, but I mean,
serious dunks, serious blocks,
alley-oops. He had a poster dunk, a ton of offensive rebounds, which we couldn't get any O-boards in the first half, and he was like a one-man offensive rebounding machine there. Yeah, some sweet blocks, like you already mentioned, and they couldn't keep him off the court. Joe took him out. He had to put him back in down the stretch for crunch time because he was just playing that well. And Scally mentioned on the broadcast something we've been talking about for a while, but how it's like shades of young Rob Williams. And the more he comes along, it's like does provide that little difference maker spark of energy. So when the full team's healthy, we'll see if there's actually a spot for him. But in a game like this, it was like very, very noticeable when he was on the court, especially when Luke was in there. It was like he was just a step slow for a game like this. He looked completely overmatched on both ends, which tough to see. But I mean, that's the life of a backup center.
In that comparison, too, I did look it up. Time Lord in Portuguese is Senhor do Tempo. Might be a nickname there. Could be something there. A little Portuguese Time Lord.
Okay.
I don't know if it's still too soon. I don't know if the wounds are too fresh, but Queta looked absolutely amazing. Like, I know we've talked a little bit about some of his struggles on defense. I think maybe there was definitely some of those, but overall, like, he was just a beast. Like, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. I don't know. I forget exactly how many minutes he played. First Portuguese player to record that stat line: 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks.
Massive.
So again, another historic night. 28 minutes, Jesus. So he played a ton.
And that's why it's the best game of his career. I'm sure there's some games where we've been dominating. He played the whole second half and put up maybe better stats, but in terms of
but these are all this is like
in an intense like playoff level feel in game. In games where usually in the past you'd be like, all right, he's clearly not ready for this. Like he was more than ready for it tonight. He was one of the best players on the court and the guy who we at a certain point almost had to have in there for his energy. It's really the defensive 13. Rebounding. If he could become more of a vacuum on the defensive glass, he'd be like a really, really good player. He still can. He's obviously young, still raw. I think they said he didn't even start playing basketball till he was 10.
I didn't realize you said that he's young. I thought that he was younger than he is, 25. But I forgot that he was with the Kings. He bounced around a bit. But I mean,
impressive stuff.
Yeah, definitely looks good. I mean, I agree with you about the defensive rebounding. I think that kind of goes to the defense too, the stuff he has to work on there. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an offensive rebound specialist, though, which seems like he's well on his way to becoming.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. It seems like he's just completely taken Tillman's role, which I did not see coming. And I'm sure there will be games where it's a Tillman game, but I mean, that's 2 games in a row he started, and Tillman didn't even see the floor tonight.
Tillman played no minutes.
Cornette got hurt, obviously no Porzingis, so interesting. I'm surprised. In a game that I would think would kind of cater towards Tillman's style, where he's kind of a more switchable big. But it's hard to argue with the results from Queta. He maybe should have taken Luke's minutes, if anything. Because, those Luke minutes in the first half when they were trapping was like, what are we doing?
I was seeing a lot of people kind of online sort of just being like, it's just Cornette just might not match up with the which is like a good thing for us that we have just such depth and just versatility in the big position. But that was tough for Cornette, but Queta stepped up big. 28 minutes.
Oh, he was awesome. So, he was a big part of the reason we made that comeback to even get a lead in the fourth quarter, honestly. Yeah,
the big energy. He's a lunch pail guy. He's bringing that like metal lunch pail to work every day.
Yeah.
Just an absolute worker. Just like built for like should have existed in the Heinsohn era. Like Heinz would absolutely love that guy.
Yeah.
He looks like the whole Portugal in the showers, I bet. So shout out to Queta. He obviously looked really good tonight too. What did you sort of think? We saw the reaction to Kerr. Probably got some pretty good boos, but honestly, I mean, obviously they got the win, but I feel like the sort of Kerr thing sort of fell flat for us tonight. Kind of upsetting. I don't know. Like we talked about, how do you like boo how do you really make the coach feel it? But I don't know. Like. And Scally even said before the game when they showed him getting booed, and they're like, he's like, "What do you think he thinks?" And he's like, "Steve Kerr's a sicko. Like, I don't think that he cares at all." So, I don't know. Definitely, this one stings. I think this is the reason this one stings more, just because we were so excited to tell Kerr to fuck himself.
Yeah,
he fucked it up.
Definitely wanted to get the win, but again, it just feels like we're, as much as it would have been nice. Like our goals and our mission is so much bigger, and I at this point we reference so many Coley Mick tweets that it might just become a segment like Coley Mick tweet of the night. But I thought he summed it up well after the game, where he's like, for years, the Warriors were that team that like everyone was leveling up to, and we'd always go in there and like steal one from them. And it felt like the roles are reversed, where it's like, we're that bully on the block, and the Warriors were the team that came in clearly like hungrier with a chip on their shoulder to prove like, hey, look at us, we're the real deal too. And they did it. And it's a great matchup. And it always is. Every time we play them, and it feels like for the last decade, no matter how good either team is, it's always a good game. It's always a weird game. And other than that time that we won by like 60, it always seems to come down to the end. So Another good
Yeah.
game
I mean,
in a long line of great games. Scal was basically like jerking off to how good of a game it was. So many times he's like, I just like
he loved it.
this
Yeah.
game so
I
much.
love these defensive. I mean,
Drew's like, all right,
I said,
Scal, relax, bud. Like, I get it.
I said it was ugly earlier, and I was more kind of just talking about that first half where it was like 18 turnovers. But again, like I think, like to Scal's point though, it was like it wasn't like a lot of those turnovers were necessarily sloppy. There was definitely some that were, but it was just also some of it was just like great active hands, like guys just like making plays.
Yes,
So
for sure.
the number obviously of turnovers was high, and it was frustrating for us, but it was like earned turnovers. It wasn't just like guys just being fucking idiots and just bouncing off their leg.
More good defense than slop fest, I would say, for sure.
While we're on the Coley Mick tweets, because great tweet at Coley Mick, special, longtime friend of the show. He also had a comment on Porzingis' outfit, which is hilarious. That Porzingis constantly dresses like he's about to threaten James Bond across the roulette table. Just like I read that, I was like, that is spot on, dude.
Yeah,
So shout out Coley Mick.
That's funny.
But
love that.
Yeah, it was.
I also thought like, watching that first half, even when it was going poorly, that it was in the way that the game was like slowing down, like that kind of playoff feel. It felt like every possession was bigger and a lot was going on, which again was part of the reason Scal kept obsessing over it. It really was like a chess match, and I feel like it's so rare in the regular season for teams to look like they know each other that well and actually have like the Warriors game plan for this game. Like in the regular season, teams don't generally come in with like a game plan. They're kind of just like, well, this is how we play. We're gonna come in and play. You come in and play how you play, and we'll see what happens. And like usually it's kind of a track meet or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this was a grinded out affair where they were very specifically game planning for the Celtics. And again, it felt like, I think Scal even said, he's like, this feels like it's like game 5 with all these like matchups, adjustments, and like strategies. And you're seeing a lot of shit that
I think Kerr was like spending some extra time on this one. He didn't want to get punked either.
Yeah, and he didn't. Credit to him and credit to the team. And I think the Warriors as a team too had a little like chip on their shoulder where people were kind of writing them off and be like, yeah, we don't buy it. And even with their 5-1, 6-1 record, it was like all of those wins. I mean, I think even on this show, when I was mentioning them and around the league, you're like, yeah, like talk to me when you beat a good team or something. So I think they
I might have to pull the tapes on that.
Happy to.
But no, yeah, I was definitely down. I didn't think the Warriors were going to be really that impressive of a team this year. So, but honestly, I'm so fascinated by the minutes that Kerr is giving guys. It's just like that is just cool. To me. That's like one of those things where it's like, hold up, like this could be something that's so like actually kind of fucking sick. Yeah, right. Like because it's something too where the Celtics. Like we had the depth where we could even incorporate something like that if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I kind of love that idea of kind of like treating it like hockey shifts and getting guys out there. Like,
but
you're gonna run low on timeouts, but
and it works because other than obviously like Curry, really, Draymond to an extent, but really Curry is the only like star. So it's not like with the Celtics, like you're never gonna play Brown and Tatum under like 35 minutes. But with the Warriors, it's like none of these guys are entitled to like any. They're all like good, obviously players, but it's not like a guy like it's not like, oh, we have to get Buddy Hield 35 minutes. We have to get Andrew Wiggins 35 minutes. Like
he looks really good though, Buddy Hield.
Well, they all do, and they're all playing in like smaller roles. And the Buddy Hield thing for a second to go off on a side note is like Scal, I thought had just like horrible comments exposing how sometimes little he pays attention. Where he's like, Buddy Hield is so like underrated. Everything he does for them defensively because he like just made a steal. Buddy Hield's not underrated, and he sucks at defense. This to me was just so much about fit and scheme, because we saw Buddy Hield last year when he got traded to the 76ers and he looked like he was washed. He basically was out of the rotation and it was like, is he just done? Like absolutely cooked. But you put him in this situation that's just like absolutely perfect for him, smaller role. And I'll give it to him. He's trying way harder on defense and is playing maybe some of the better defense that he's played in his career. But it was still funny the way Scal made it sound like they brought him in and he's like a defensive specialist, which is like, he's basically a DH who just plays offense. He's playing amazing offense. And again, couldn't be more perfect. Like he's looking like prime Klay Thompson so far this season. I think he was shooting over 50% from 3 going into this game on like absurdly high volume. And that's kind of who he is. And the more they play this way and he plays with those guys, like those shots are going to be there. So it does seem like kind of a perfect fit for him and all those guys. And a lot of them are just really switchable wings who can kind of all go in for each other too. Like they have so many combos that will work, where a lot of those guys like bring different skill sets, but good team. And I wouldn't say happy for them, but I mean, as a team that's
Definitely
out in the
not
West,
happy
the
for
more
them.
like good teams in the West that are going to beat each other up, the better. So,
Yeah.
we'll see them one more time in the regular season, and then whoever comes out of the West, it's like even if we make the finals, we only got.
It is
one of
interesting
these
just
teams.
picturing them sort of lurking over in that Western Conference playoff picture because you kind of had the 2 or 3 teams everyone's thinking about,
Yeah.
but the Warriors are still,
Well,
something
and then
a force to be reckoned
and I
with.
think the other thing about this is it sets up perfectly to be like, are they the perfect team for like a consolidation trade? Could they trade 4 guys for, whichever star? Like, what if the Miami thing goes downhill and they're just like, we're not re-signing Jimmy Butler, we're going to trade him to Golden State for 2 picks and 3 players? Like, I could see that happening. And if you're Golden State with a 35-year-old Steph and Draymond, be like, fuck it, let's go for it. And part of me also wonders if that's why Kerr is doing these rotations, because he doesn't want to sap anyone's trade value.
Interesting. That
like he's kind of
is an
hyping the
interesting
ball
theory.
up. Everyone looks good, and it's like a team that is like, oh man, we have no depth, but maybe has like a, I don't know, if they could somehow upgrade and get a star.
Well, yeah.
Brandon Ingram is playing well. I don't know if they'd want to touch that or whatever, but there's always a guy or two that comes.
You've thrown out 2 like very strange, like Ingram and Butler, just the 2 of those. I don't know.
Just in terms of guys who I could see being traded. Who I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyone.
No,
yeah. Anyone in the NBA,
like,
but they just seem like a team that would like make perfect sense for if a star came available. Maybe Giannis. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it seemed watching tonight, it's like, yeah, they could definitely throw like 3 or 4 interesting, solid players at a team if it came to it. So I don't know if that's something they consider. And that's why when we say, like, is this 12-man rotation sustainable? Probably not. But if they turn it into a really good 8 or 9-man rotation that's a little top heavier, that might make them more legitimate, like, playoff.
Absolute chess move if that's just strictly for trade value.
It could be part of it. Definitely could be part of it. And it was a chess match tonight, as Drew said about 15 times.
Yeah, good chess match.
Great chess match.
All right, you got anything else on the game in particular? Game of the Warriors or anything like that? Where are we at right now? Updating the concern meter for Jalen?
Honestly, I'm still not concerned about it, because as much as you want him to get back, it's like there's never been a team in a situation where it's more like, it's a 3-day injury, take 10. Like, rushing, there's probably one of the very few things that could derail this season is like a player rushing back from an injury. Literally.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not something that's thought to be long term. It's like you might be out for a week, maybe you can return in a week, take 2 weeks. You're out, you should, you need 3 days off, take 10. Like, why would you not? As much as we want to play, and I'm sure he wants to play, like, there's just literally no reason to.
All right, I'm still monitoring the situation. We're on level 2.
I think if one of us is monitoring it, I think that's
I'm in there. I'll carry the burden.
That's fair. All right, a couple other things. I didn't have a ton of things, but I had to mention after our talk recently about trusting Luke on the challenge, Tatum called for a challenge and the bench was like, no. Did you see that? Yeah. It was like that out of bounds play, and Tatum was like, he's asking the bench for a challenge. Like, oh, they're saying no. Like, and it looked like he was right. I don't know. It's bang bang, but it's just funny after we were saying
it's a tough angle. I don't feel like that would have been maybe tough to overturn.
Again, just compared to the immediate challenge once Luke called for it versus Tatum going crazy and begging for challenge.
He's like the star too.
It's I'll be like,
look, dude, we all agree the best player of the team, but like, we're like, you're too much. You're too reactionary with the rest calls. Like, we can't have you making that.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of funny. We got to see the opposite end of the spectrum on that one. I thought I had to write down the sequence just because it was so crazy. And, in a game that ended up being tight in the first half when they were building up that lead, a hell of a player who was one of their good players that we haven't mentioned, who's new to the team, Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, the veteran, just banging 3 straight threes out of nowhere. It was early in the game, so probably got lost in the shuffle, but it was just like so frustrating. A good player, but someone you'll happily, a guy Joe will
not
with
part
the
of
math,
his game,
so to speak, and just 3 threes. The last one was a straight heat check. It's like, well, where did that come from? And that was kind of how they built up that lead they had in the first place that we were trying to get back from. And then just a few plays in the third quarter. We mentioned a few of the Queta highlights, but there's that one play where it seemed like the Celtics swung it around like the entire court twice. And 2 of them were like guy jumping to save it out of bounds. That was one of the craziest possessions I've ever seen.
I feel like we were doing it for like 30 seconds.
It was like I put the like Globetrotters music behind it. Almost, it's just like this is not what is happening right now.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea. I might do that.
One of the either the Globetrotters or the Benny Hill music. It was depending on how it ended, and Tatum made it so you could do.
I think Tatum making it instantly puts that in Globetrotter status. Otherwise, that's straight Benny Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that was an absolutely crazy play. And to your point too, it was like twice they almost were like diving into the bench to try to save the ball.
Yeah, it was like
so glad that Tatum makes that three because it does make all the difference.
Yeah, and speaking of Tatum making a three to preserve a highlight, the Pritchard ankle breaker on Peyton, and then he stepped back. Tatum hit the three again. Where it's like there's certain threes. It's like a guy makes such a sick play, you gotta hit you gotta finish the job, and
gotta finish.
Tatum did it on both of those, which I was happy about. And yeah, I think that was pretty much sums it up. I think really good game. I got that one got the juices flowing for me, and I didn't. It's fun again to just enjoy these games without the stress of years past. This would have been a very stressful game.
This would have been they don't have it.
And
they
I'd
can't
be
beat
pissed
this
right
team.
now, and I'm really not pissed. I'm like, nice, that was a sick game for November.
I'm not happy.
I'd like an opportunity to learn and to get better.
Great point.
Joe's so like this is all the stuff about our revenge tour and hunger and all that. If we'd gone out and just like beaten Steve Kerr by 40, it'd be like, all right, sick. Now it's like perfect, even more motivation for Joe.
Gotta work harder.
Kerr fucking owns you. He embarrassed you in summer and just embarrassed you again.
I think that was definitely a point there. That was a point they were making. Yeah, that was a point they were making. Like kind of in the game, was that the Celtics kind of needed the game like this. You know, it's good measuring stick game, great measuring stick game. That's a good term for it.
Definitely.
All right.
I was fired up.
So
not as fired up as Scout, but I was fired up.
We'll put a little bow on this. We'll do the Chuddy Chain. We'll do a little around the NBA. So just to end this, Celtics lose 118-112. Tatum 32 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Queta, we already mentioned, 14 points, 8 rebounds. Great Derek White games. Kept them in it early in the game. He had couple threes early. Finished with 26 points, 6 rebounds. Peyton Pritchard, 16 points. The now favorite for 6th Man of the Year award. And Horford, 10 points, 7 rebounds. He put up some offense a little bit late in the game. Holiday, 6 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Very Holiday-like stat line.
Yep.
That's like textbook Holiday. It's unfortunate. I would have loved to get the win here. But, like you said, everything is an opportunity, right? So, pressure is a privilege. All the old Joe-isms that we all like to go with.
Yeah.
So tonight we'll give out our Chuddy Chains. I think I went first last game, so you can go first now. Who you giving your Chuddy Chain to tonight?
I mean, I think there's a few guys, but how can I not pick Neemias Queta? Like I already mentioned, best game of his career.
He is stacking Chuddy Chains.
He is, but I mean, how can you not give it to him? He was an absolute game changer on both ends, and I think I'm not sure we get back in this game and make that comeback without his energy on both ends of the court, honestly. And I mean, that one possession, I think he had 3 offensive rebounds. He was kind of doing it all out there. So super impressive. And like I said, I don't think we've ever seen it from him with that kind of minute load in a game like that. To see him able to rise to that challenge is extremely promising and probably a bigger takeaway from this game than probably anything else, honestly, that happened in terms of like what actually matters long term.
It's tough to find another person to get the Chuddy Chain too, with Queta there. So I might go. All right, I kind of have a couple ideas because I do think that Tatum in that third quarter was like pretty hitting those threes, but I might give out my Chuddy Chain strictly for one play specifically. And I'm going to give it to Sam Hauser. He had that one like play where he dived to save the ball. I forget exactly what it ended up to, but I just remember being so pumped. I remember screaming out Tommy Point. So it was just a nice little throwback. So you know what? This is a sign that you don't always have to be the biggest scorer out there the most to get a Chuddy Chain. We're recognizing work at all levels. So Queta gets it from you. I'm going to give it to Sam Hauser just for that one play because you know what? We need grittiness. A guy like Sam, gotta love it. Gotta love to see that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? I thought you were going first tonight, and I just assumed you'd pick Queta, and my choice was going to be Hauser because I thought he had a few plays like that, and I thought he was very physical. He was taking a beating. I felt like he was on the floor all night. He got fouled hard multiple times, and again, a guy
we see you, Sam. We see
not long ago we were like would question if he could hold his own in a game like this, and especially in that third quarter, he was a big part of that run, and he looked like he belonged. And like again, like we were the guys who were like, no, like we're the confident team. We're pushing you off our spots now. Like we got this, and he was a big part of that. So credit to Sam.
Yeah, gotta love him. What do you finish with here? 6 points. Yeah, he hit 2 threes. Yeah, so give it to Sam. Exactly. I think sometimes this stuff is done in the trenches. It's done not flashy. The Chuddy Chain is not meant to be flashy. If I had to picture a Chuddy Chain, it is no flash to it at all. No, it's like one of those things that you can like the kids like braid with like plastic. It's like something like that. There's very little flashiness to this. It's all gritty. It's all hard work. All right, we'll pay some bills here. We'll get to around the NBA. Chuddy's Corner is sponsored. Shout out to the sponsor, Nick Perrano. He was in the house tonight. So check out nickperrano.com. That's P-I-R-A-I-N-O, Nick Perrano. Nick Perrano Real Estate. He's got you covered for all your real estate needs, whether it's big, small, local, far away, far away, anywhere. Nick's got you covered. He's got to give us like a whole ad read sheet because this is every now and then I just start doing the ad read. I don't know where I'm going with it half the time. But shout out to Nick Perrano. Also shout out to him because it sounds like we're getting some tickets to a game from him. So extra shout out to the sponsor. He showed us the draft too that he had for his it's like the season ticket package or whatever that they split up. He dominated that draft, and I think it's partially due to the sheet we gave him ranking the game. So shout out to nickperrano.com. Make sure you check him out. All right, what do you got from obviously there was no NBA yesterday for election day. So I don't know if there's might be a light load on around the NBA. I do know we have an update on our friend Joel Embiid. This is a funny one, so I'll let you kind of probably just start there.
Yeah, I mean we talked about the shove heard around the world, but not seen by anyone on the last episode, and he has been suspended for 3 games, which honestly I thought, considering what it was a little light, and a little bit of the league being like, we get it. It was justified. More like I was just expecting, for like assaulting a reporter, whatever it was. I was expecting more just based off that alone. The offense of shoving an old reporter in the locker room. 3 games, and then the hilarious Shams tweet tonight. He's back. He tweets, and then says Joel Embiid will make his return Tuesday after his 3-game suspension, which hasn't even started yet. So tweeting out he's back for a guy who hasn't even started serving his suspension seems weird to me. But again, like I'll believe it when I see it. They could just be saying that because they said they weren't going to start the suspension until he's ready to play. So I'm sure Tuesday will roll around and he'll be questionable for that game. So
Tuesday rolls around, he plays 1 minute and checks out.
I'll believe he's back when I see him playing basketball.
I also don't know. I wish I saved the tweet so I could give the person credit for it. But I saw someone when they tweeted out someone mentioned the suspension. They tweeted like they should actually make him play 3 games. His punishment should be that he has to actually start playing games. Yeah, play 3 games in a row.
Yeah, seriously.
Play 3 back-to-backs.
It's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think 3 does. I mean, when I first heard that when we first thought that was a punch, it would be different. But shoving again, I think the fact there's no video of it. I mean, maybe it sounds like maybe it was kind of like, I don't know, like overblown a little bit. Like maybe it was more of like a grab than a shove based on the fact that it's a 3-game. But I think it could also, it might be the NBA. I mean, has the NBA ever like suspended like a columnist too? Because from what I heard from some of the reports it sounded like Embiid was like approaching him about it, obviously like pissed off, but it sounds like almost as if the guy was like defending it, like as if like it wasn't even the guy who was like, maybe let's talk. It sounded like the guy was being like, oh, fuck that.
No, no. It sounded like the guy was more being apologetic and trying to be like, hey, like I already apologized. I already took it out of the column, and Embiid was like not letting him talk and wasn't having it. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And again, like I
heard they went back and forth, so I was like, okay, what was he?
Both of us were kind of, I think, fine with it and understood where Embiid was coming from, but I just feel more like you see the words like Joel Embiid just assaulted a reporter. You figure the NBA is going to set a precedent right there and be like, yeah, that's like 10. You touch a medium.
What do you think?
That's 10 games. Like, I don't know.
What do you think Joe Mazzulla would get for like choking out like Washburn for questioning the threes?
I mean, based on this, like I don't know, 6 games.
Could be worth it.
Yeah, a road trip. Get a road trip off. Probably use it in the middle of the season. But the 76ers saga just rolls on. Paul George returned the other night, a shaky game, and then shook off Tyrese Maxey for the last shot and missed it for them to lose by 1 to the Suns on a gross ISO mid-ranger after 20 dribbles. It was pretty sick. Another thing we mentioned last episode was Greg Popovich missing a game with an illness. Now he's like out indefinitely, and there was some tweet that there's like serious concern. So this might actually be like a real health scare. He's terrible. Missed a few games now. Yeah, so I haven't heard any like definitive update other than someone did tweet out that it was something like actually concerning maybe. So again, hope it's nothing, but we'll see.
Well, we're updating. We gave thoughts. Are we officially giving prayers then? I think it might be.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah,
we won't pop back for sure. He survived through so many rough years to get to this point with Wemby. Now it'd be like, come on, Pop, like this is what you stuck around for, man. So obviously we just want to see Pop out there.
It says great level of concern for Greg Popovich after health scare.
Doesn't sound great. Great level of concern is not ideal, certainly.
No, that's about as high as the level as it can get. Suffered a serious health issue and needed medical attention before the Spurs game against the Timberwolves. There's great level of concern around the situation from those surrounding Pop. He's missed the 2 games. It's still uncertain when he'll make it back to the floor on the sideline for the team. It sounds like that was just Sean's reporting. He's at home resting right now. So it sounds like it happened at the game. I mean, that's scary.
Not good. But again, don't want to speculate, but just hoping for Pop's quick recovery. You want to see him back out there, obviously. Hear more of his press conferences and whatnot. Speaking of that,
you would have had a good one tonight, I'm sure.
Yeah, they got Anyway, did you see? Speaking of which, the Perk interview? I think he went on a podcast and they kind of asked him about the situation with the Celtics.
I had a little bit on this because I know that he personally like called out Scal. They were asking Scal about it. I think Drew kind of tried to bait Scal into talking about it today in the broadcast too. I mean, it sounds like to me a guy that. Anytime you have to say, remind me that you don't give a fuck like 15 times in one sentence, it tells me that you might give a fuck. So they asked him about they asked him about just all the different stuff. He's like, let me just say, I don't give it. It's like, dude, how can you not give a fuck?
Sure.
That? And then he was chirping Scal like, who the fuck is Scal? Like to talk. It's getting
as if
crazy.
they're not like boys who used to do the pregame together like 2 years ago. Like, what is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was nonsense. But I thought that maybe the most interesting takeaway from the interview was at the end of it. After all of that, was that he said that Mazzulla reached out to him and said he wanted to get dinner with him when he was in town and break bread. Which again goes back to what we talked about last episode with the whole situation with Embiid and the reporter, where it's just the comparison of two organizations where. And again, I won't say like Perks nonsense is comparable to the guy like making a weird shot at Joel's family, but I think there's definitely some parallels between the situation and the way it was handled. Where it's like the Celtics aren't. I don't think anyone's publicly commented on it. Even Mazzulla, who like, again, he didn't insult his family, but he insulted like his intelligence in such a out of line. Like that was completely out of line.
It was out of pocket. Yeah,
100%. And like Joe would have had every right to say whatever back and to like be like, "Fuck this guy. I want nothing to do with him." So for Joe to be the one to reach out where he absolutely didn't have to.
Also, just like objectively speaking, Perk has to be way dumber than Mazzulla. Like a spelling, like any type of like spelling bee, like whatever you want to put them at, like
anything there.
State capitals.
Oh, 100%.
Like, just.
But again, I think just speaks to the character of Joe and of the Celtics organization, and just shows the difference in the way like something that should be kind of simple is handled. The Celtics, if Perk didn't say it, like you wouldn't have even known about this. It's not like they're doing this for clout or to make a statement or anything. It's just like,
that's
we're
true.
Fucking adults. You're out here being a jackass. Like, let's meet face to face and fucking hash this out. And so it's like Joe, just like he is who we think he is, which is just awesome. Again, like I don't like it as a fan because I'm petty and like fuck Perk, but I'm not surprised that Joe is like.
If Joe says to squash it, I mean, it has to listen, I guess. Yeah.
So
I wouldn't like it, but.
Or he's just setting him up and he's gonna fucking beat the shit out of him. Who knows? Like
that'd be funny too. Like almost like a meet at the ninth green at 9 o'clock type thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
that'd be great. Or just like take him to some place that has just like wicked crazy food and just be like, yeah, all right, like today we're gonna eat like elk testicle or something like that. Like just like really trying to call Perks bluff. Like this is what I always eat. Like, oh, you don't like this?
Yeah, like almost anything could be going down.
I like that. I mean, I did not hear that part about Joe trying to break bread, so shout out to Joe.
Yeah, but like not surprising.
He's a very wise man.
And then one other Celtics thing I want to mention, I saw in the pregame today, they did a poll. Who is the Celtics' biggest rival right now? And who do you think it is? Not like even who won, just like in your opinion. Because I thought it was actually kind of an interesting question when you think about it.
So is rival like bad blood or just like who's like our big like this isn't who's our biggest competition. This is like who's
Not
our biggest rival.
Who's our biggest rival right now?
Who's our biggest rival?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would.
And I'll give you a hint. The winner of the poll was incredibly overwhelming.
I mean, it was the Lakers the poll. I mean, I don't think that they're it. I would say Philly, even though we just kind of own them.
No,
but like that's the team that I think I hate the most. The Heat.
It was the Heat with like 65% of the vote.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, I feel like because the Heat, it's actually a competition. Like it's kind of like Embiid said himself. Like it's not a rivalry. They kick our ass every time.
Right.
Like I feel like Philly. Yeah, I mean the Heat makes sense.
It was interesting.
I feel like
I just thought it was interesting. I didn't disagree, but I was like a little surprised at first, and then I kind of thought it was like, well, I guess
I think it's just because the playoff
rematch. We keep they're like is an actual rival. It was like the Knicks and the Sixers are almost more like hypothetical rivals. Like they want to be our rivals so bad, but they're just like
they're like geographical rivals to us.
And
like just like we naturally
they think like they're on, but it's like you haven't done anything to earn rival status as of yet.
Right.
Like I guess they have. I would still say it's the Lakers will just like always be our biggest rival.
Right.
It just is, but. I just thought that was interesting and a little surprised. But anyway, then a few just basketball actual notes from games. I know there were no games on last night, which again is, it was a dark, dark, dark day for America with no basketball games on. And I hope we never have to live through that again. It's disturbing. But the night before that, if you haven't been paying attention, it's good to have John Morant back in our lives. And he's already put on a one-man highlight show. He had two of the most outrageous 360 layups you'll ever see in the same game. They were just absolutely
arguably the same quarter. I feel like in this game,
they might have been
close.
I mean, these if you haven't seen them, go watch. Like these plays are so crazy. Like objectively, just way more impressive even than like Jordan's switch hand layup in the finals against the Lakers. I know,
100%. Like the one where he cocked back like he was going to dunk it so hard.
I mean,
and then he just did like a little spin. It was crazy.
And it was just a reminder of like. Thank God Ja's back in our lives because I think it's easy to forget without him being gone just how fun he was on a night-to-night basis. And he really, for like a while before all the shit went down with him,
he was sick.
He was the most like must-watch. He was like the league pass guy. Like, what did Ja just do? What did Ja just do? Like, I gotta see this. So to see him back making highlights, he had another. He fell down and threw an alley-oop like just from his sitting on his ass on the court was cool too. So I don't know. The Grizzlies are struggling a little, and they're already banged up a bit again. So I'm hoping they figure it out because they're just a fun team, and he's just such a fun player to watch. So cool to see. And then tonight, awesome slate of games tonight. We got a couple going down to the wire as we speak. But earlier in the night, first game, Pistons Hornets, and this was the first game that came on. And part of me was like, maybe this is just me because of there were no games on last night. But I was like, Pistons Hornets, like sick. And it was like I feel like I'm not even being that much of a sicko, but like these teams are just solid. Watching this, I was like, no, these aren't just two like absolute shit show teams. They're two like young, up and coming, feisty teams. It was a great back and forth game, a lot of good plays. Ron Holland hit what looked like the game winning layup, and then our boy Grant rimmed out a three that would have won it, but Brandon Miller swooped in, tip in at the buzzer, first walk off buzzer beater of the season for the Hornets to get a 1-point win over the Pistons and. Just an awesome game. I love Hornets Pistons, so had to mention that.
Nice.
Basketball's back. And then, aggressively back.
All right. Well,
and then,
all right. This is what do you got? All right, give us one more.
Well, yeah, just on tonight.
We're going a little over our time here.
We've talked about the struggles of the rookie class, but number one overall pick Zachary Richer with a bit of a coming out party tonight. He had 33 points, made a bunch of threes, helped the Hawks beat the Knicks, and he had 2 steals, I think 3 blocks, and you could totally see it tonight where he looked like a legitimate number one overall pick. You could see like the superstar potential. He kind of dominated that game and helped the Hawks take it home. Huge win. So cool to see. Good stuff. And just good to have basketball back. Suns Heat going down to the wire. Thunder Nuggets going down to the wire. I got 5 screens going right now.
Thunder Nuggies. Wow.
Yeah. 1-point game, 4.5 minutes left. Good
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
Nuggets just took the lead on a Christian Braun 3. Oh, no, the Nuggets were up 112, 108. The Nuggets were just down about 17. Jamal Murray out with a concussion. Aaron Gordon out with a calf strain. Really impressive statement. Brown's having a great game. Russell Westbrook, I think, is up over 30 points. So,
Oh, God.
yeah.
That's
Things are
something.
happening. Things are happening. So I'll let you get out of here. I know you want to watch the end of that.
Yeah, I gotta get to it. Before we do that though, we do on Friday we have the Nets coming to town. We talked a little bit about the Nets, just how they are a zombie or they're a Frankenstein. They're a Frankenstein team.
Oh, yeah.
So Frankenstein's coming to town.
Yeah,
just real quick, what can we expect from the Nets?
I mean, a competent basketball team. You can expect a competent basketball team. Dennis Schroeder playing amazing, always plays well against us. A team that after our talk, I've listened to a few national podcasts who have actually brought up the Nets and said they might have to do something because their goal is to tank and they might be too good to tank. So kind of what I was saying. They have too many competent players. It's Cam Thomas is up there. I think he's in the top 5 for the scoring lead. Dennis Schroeder, like I mentioned, is auditioning for every team that might need a point guard at the trade deadline. You got Nick Claxton coming in doing some things. Ben Simmons, he's been managing himself, so I hope he plays because it's always a little extra fun when Simmons is on the court, no doubt. But an interesting team, a team that obviously I expect to beat, but a team that competes and has a lot of good professional basketball players and guys who you look up and be like, oh shit, like they still have Dorian Finney-Smith. Oh yeah, they have Cam Johnson. I forgot about that. Guys will just kind of come in and out of the game and make up those different parts of the Doctor's monster. And I, for one, will be looking forward to this one probably more than we have for a Celtics next game in a little bit. So should be good.
Nice. That'll be exciting. I feel like the last real time that there was an intense Celtics Nets game was a game I went to when we blew like a massive leader. No, we just got absolutely crushed from the start. I think we might have gone to a game, you and I, where we blew a massive lead to the Nets too. Maybe like a few seasons ago. That was like a long time. But anyway, that's boring. I do think I want to just piggyback on because I just pulled up Twitter. I saw during that Grizz Lakers game, LeBron and Ja got kind of into it. And I just saw Bleacher Report tweet out a picture of like LeBron doing the too little, it looks like, to Ja, just being like, oh, Braun said, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And John Morant just quote tweeted it with Grizz said, and it's just a really funny video of someone like dressed in colonial stuff doing a gritty and then hitting him with the L. So
that's awesome.
Love like a good LeBron beef. So something to keep an eye on there.
Oh, one other thing I meant to ask you as I'm watching the end of this Suns Heat game, is that a rivalry? The only two teams with that are all about basketballs that are on fire. The two teams with flaming basketballs.
Has to be, yeah. That's a good. Yeah, it's a good.
Well, it's hard. I think Suns or Heat. Like I don't know. But right now the Suns, it looks like you're gonna get the win. They're up 4 with 16 seconds left, and the team I was high on, I think they're about to improve to 6-2 or something like that.
I mean, without Heat, the Sun is like not even dangerous.
But would there even be Heat without the Sun? Holy shit, I don't know.
Interesting.
I'll say.
All right, we might be honest here. We might have to do a whole separate podcast for this.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Well, we'll see everyone back here on Friday. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you go and tell 5 of your friends about the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Chuddy's Corner. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Follow me and Chud at Doug_outs on Twitter, at King Chuddy on Twitter. And yeah, thanks everyone that's been listening. Off to a good start this season for the Celtics and for the podcast. So let's keep it rolling. We'll see everyone back here on Friday. All right, take care.
Peace out, Chuddy.